Now you all might be thinking, and you have so many concepts about teaching. Yes, I can give art, teaching is an art, teaching is a science. Agree, totally agree. But according to me, if you ask me what is teaching, I would say that teaching is to make a difference in somebody's life. Achrekar sir made a difference in a young boy's life who turned into Sachin Tendulkar. Can we make a difference in our students' life? Mathematically, because I am a mathematics teacher, I need to explain in mathematics too, right? So to teach is to touch lives forever. So teaching is an art, teaching is a science, teaching is explaining the concept. For more of that, if teaching has a broader horizon wherein we can touch lives forever. And in the end, but before teaching John Latin, teachers should know John first. So before we talk or discuss about teaching, we should know how our students are, how we encourage the student to learn. So before teaching, I think we should know what is learning. So learning is to acquire knowledge, attitudes, and skills. There are three main domains of learning, and in education we call them as 3H: the head, the heart, and the hand. So we have to think, that is knowledge, which is also there in cognitive, which is also called a cognitive domain. Heart means attitude, which is affective domain, and hand, that means skills, which is the psychomotor domain. Now, all these three domains has been elaborately researched and discussed, in fact, by Benjamin Bloom. And he said that learning is to acquire these skills, this knowledge, and this attitude through these three domains. But this is very theoretical. If you really want to go into deep and really want to understand what is the level of learning, so we need to discuss, or we need to understand how Bloom defined it in terms of Bloom's taxonomy. What he did was he classified all these three domains. Mostly we talk about the first domain, that is the cognitive domain, through which or for which we can have a good influence, right? So first, and if you can see, the base is to remember. Here, recall facts and basic concepts are there. Some of you might be knowing about Bloom's taxonomy. I would really encourage you to go into more detail. If you have a clear view, you can also help your peers to understand this. So second is understanding, a step further, wherein you explain ideas and concept. And the third is apply, use information in new situation. As per our present teaching learning scenario, we go up to this level. Somehow we really fall short to go to analyze, evaluate, or create level. Analyze means to break down into parts, to understand, to differentiate, to relate, to compare, to contrast. In fact, to examine, to experiment. Such questions actually take a back seat when we are doing our teaching learning process. So Bloom said that as we go towards a tip of this pyramid, the level goes on increasing. And as you all are teachers of undergraduate and postgraduate students, here is where we need to really focus on, to analyze, to evaluate, justify a stand or decision, argue, defend, judge, select, sometimes support, value, critique, because critical attitude development is one of the major aim of the teaching learning as per the present curriculum framework. And the top is to create, to produce new or original work. Can we encourage our student to design something new, to construct something new, to conjecture, to develop, to innovate? And if you are, all of you might be aware that the present government is also doing or taking lot of initiative to take to this level. So as a teacher, my role is not just pertinent to up to the level of apply. It should go beyond. And according to the Bloom's taxonomy, let's try to ask some questions. Let's try to fix our objectives based on this. You can have more information about levels of learning in Bloom's taxonomy if you just go online. I have also given a source down by Vanderbilt University Center for Teaching, where you can find more information about this.
Shanti ma'am,
Yes?
ma'am, please remove annotations. You can do this, or you can share your screen again, so that the scribbles on the screen can go away.
What should I do?
You can go to the options and remove the annotations there, or you simply share your screen again.
I will share my screen again. Okay.
And at that time, you need to remove the option of annotations by anyone, so that nobody can scribble on the screen. Only you can then scribble on the screen.
Okay, just a minute. So annotate is what I have to.
You have to disallow annotation.
Okay. I have to clear, right?
Yeah, clear and disallow annotations.
I can share your screen now.
I'm not able to see here the
disallow. Okay, now you share your screen again. And I request all the participants to avoid writing anything on the screen, please.
Okay, I'll stop screen sharing and I will restart again. Now, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes. It's visible and clear.
Okay. So now the main question, if you just see, is why there is a need for effective pedagogy, and that too at present. Why we are discussing at present the need of effective pedagogy. So if I really want to go further, this is the COVID-19, Har Ghar Ki Kahani. If you just see this picture, this is what our students are doing at present. They are engaged in the household work. They are also studying. They are also doing things which they really don't like, sitting at home. And I hope you might be able to correlate to this, because you all are also doing these things, right? And these things, there are a lot of crises because of this situation. In fact, in our inaugural session also, Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir also said that most of 50% of our students are not able to have access through this channel. So there is a very big crisis situation at present because of this COVID-19. We all are stuck at home. We all are actually feeling hopeless before, but right now, because I'm here actually coordinating with you, I'm really feeling very happy. So lockdown are actually restricted movements, no physical classroom. So we all have been actually forced to go for digital classroom. There is lack of clarity and motivation. I would say that teachers are motivated. However, if you just see the students, their motivation or clarity as to how to use online medium as a means of learning is really not very clear. Though these are the digital natives, these are the students of the new millennia who are so good with the online or digital modes. I think we can always take this challenge and bring into the opportunity. So there are many webinars. I think so you might have attended webinars, and you are also attending this, right? So you might have made PPTs, videos, notes, but I feel there is really a time for innovation, a time to think whatever we are doing, is it apt? Is it correct? is my colleague, is my fellow mate, is my community doing the same? And I really want to thank REC College because they have bring all of us together to here in this platform to discuss what we are doing and how we can improve. So this platform is not only that we are expert or somebody is just sharing. This is just that we all will discuss amongst ourselves. If you know something really nice that you can share, please share with us. We will try to incorporate it. So it's a co-programming session, I would say. So there is really a need, and there are various reforms in teaching learning. That is what it needs to be brought out. There are students who needs a set guideline. You have to do this, you have to do this. But there are also some students who don't need guideline. They really want to break out and want to design something of their own, right? So we have to tackle to these types of students and also adapt to the present situation. Adopting to the learner centered techniques is again a very, very important thing what we have to do. There are various new pedagogic approaches to teaching learning, and especially online teaching learning, which you can see on your online platforms, and which to choose, which one will be suiting for me, how I can get access to you. All these questions might be troubling all of you. And of course, peer teaching learning methodology is what we want to incorporate in this reforms of teaching. So we have to design innovative assessment tools for finding out if our students are actually learning or not. So all these things need to be reformed and need to be thought of when we are discussing effective pedagogy. Now, an effective pedagogy is a pedagogy that increases students' achievement. And John Hattie is a personality whom I really want to talk about here. He is an Australian, and he is an academician who has researched for more than 50,000 studies. He has done a meta analysis of 50,000 studies, and over 80 million students have been researched under this meta analysis. And he has found out there are various ways or strategies of effective pedagogy, and these are listed here. So giving feedback, peer tutoring, questioning, homework, individualized class instruction, class size, ability grouping, teacher subject matter knowledge, retention, all these nine are, he has given more actually, but I have selected nine, are very, very important. But I really want to ask you this question. According to you, what do you think? What John Hattie would have got in his research? Which is the best? Now, this is really not in a proper sequence. I want all of you to think which one, according to this, will be the best. And can we have a poll here? Vivekanand sir,
Yes, ma'am.
can we have the poll? First question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you take the poll? Yes. So please, what do you think? According to you, which one is the best?
Ma'am, you have to announce to end the poll if it is over.
Okay. I hope all of you are polling and you are giving your views. I think so. We have got a fair representation. Still, people are giving. I'll wait for 10 seconds more. Can you be little quick, please? Okay, so I'll stop my poll here right now. I hope that all of you, the remaining people might be thinking about these things and might have the same representation. So I will end the poll. And I really want to share the result. If you see the first or the highest what we have received here is the teacher subject matter knowledge and retention. So as per the entire community or group, I would go 39%. Sorry, 28% of the community is thinking that this is very important. Some of you also think that giving feedback is very important, or ability grouping. Peer tutoring is also nice. And class size is the least. Wow. I didn't think that this will be a thing, but still some people think that class size is really important, right? So let's see now what is the result as per John Hattie. Yes, this is what happened. So teacher subject matter knowledge or retention is actually negative. It doesn't matter how knowledgeable the teacher is or what kind of retention the students are having. According to his study, the highest is giving feedback and then the student understanding where the student has gone right or wrong. Obviously, 7.73 is what is the rating he has got. Peer tutoring again is very high. Questioning is very high. Class size is again negligible if you see. So if you are teaching to 200, 300 students, or you're teaching to 20, 30 students, it doesn't matter. But yes, if you change the methodology, then it matters. So if you are teaching in a same routine way, it doesn't have an impact. That is what the study showed. So I think now this way we have come to some conclusion based on John Hattie's study. You can also find his study online and you can read about his findings. This will definitely help you to understand what kind of strategy would be helpful. Now, there are various ways, right? Cooperative learning, active learning, experiential learning, flipped classroom, problem-based learning, online learning, blended learning, and inquiry-based learning. So all these different types of learning you have heard about and are one of the ways, one of the methodology which can be termed as effective methodologies. Today, we are not going to be discussing all this, but we are going to highlight on online effective pedagogy because this is what we are here for, right? So effective pedagogy, there are major four things what we can do, right? So we can have lectures, we can have case studies, we can have small group discussions, or we can have hands-on. Now, what do you think? Which one is the best in this? Can we have the second poll, please? Second question.
Yes, ma'am. It is going to launch very soon.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. I think so. I have got a good representation. So I am going to end the poll now and share the result with you. So maximum 34% of you of this community feels that case studies is really effective. Or if we want to use online, it is one of the most effective. Then comes a small group discussion, and then comes hands-on, and then lectures. I really go with you all, and I really want to congratulate you because you have thought as a community, what would be really nice? But the question is, if I really want to say online effective pedagogy, wherein my students would be able to learn and which will be feasible for me to do. Now, if you see case studies, if you see hands-on, that is laboratory, or use of labs, especially for science or engineering students, it is little challenging when we are discussing online pedagogy. And most of us would be managing or doing the lectures, isn't it? So I want to discuss first online lectures. Now, online lectures could be really effective if we can focus on pedagogy. There could be surfacing questions, polls, inviting question answers. There you can also have small group discussions. In fact, some cold calling wherein you can definitely call your student and understand what the problem is. So these are the ways you can have your online lectures effective. But when you really want to start, or you really want to have online lectures, first and foremost is you should have set ground rules or norms for your class. For example, when I am taking the session, I would encourage all the students to have some rules for them. No using their mobile phones, or not doing multitasking, doing something and then attending the class. You can have a discussion of this sort and have some norms for your online classroom. You can also instruct to them more specifically what they need to do and how they need to do. Also, commitment from the student as well as from the teacher is very, very important. Please fix your priorities. Once your priorities are fixed, it will be easy for the student also to grasp in. Very good audio is the key. If at all they are not able to see you, they can hear you, they can relate to you. Hence, a good audio is very, very important, and time matters. Time of the day, what time you are giving them the session, what time you are interacting with them is very, very important. So you have to discuss and find a ways wherein you can set. And the last but not the least, the most important is learning from your students. As I have already told, they are the digital natives. They are the best judges. What is really nice for them? So can we learn from them and adapt in our teaching? Also, um, very, very important is give practice that will reach a wide variety of learners. As sir was saying that not all our learners can be accessing our whatever videos or whatever content you have presented will through laptop or through a smartphone. There could be many challenges. So text is a medium also wherein we can give our students and reach to a wide variety of students. We can also try to give additional processing time for them in order to understand the entire concept. And also select accessible resources. Please don't select very high funder resources which are not accessible for the students. And very, very important is take care. Take care of yourself and your students. Now I'm just saying take care, and I'm just talking and talking, right? Now, can I ask you, if you all are sitting, I just look at yourself, how you're sitting. Can you just be sitting straight, your back straight, your shoulder roll back, your arms, can you stretch front, stretch, give a good stretch. Nice, nice stretch. Now at the back, nice. Do you feel a relaxed position here? Yeah, your neck, give a good twist to your neck, but very slow. And 3 breaths, deep breath you will take. Okay, take a deep breath. One more. And the last. Nice. I think you are now quite fresh. And let's go to the next. Okay, now when you are finding online lectures, so you can go for live lectures or you can also go for pre-recorded lectures. Live lectures, actually, you have to prepare slide, but please prepare slides cautiously. Break up your presentation. There should be a lot of interactivity in between your presentation. You can take polls or you can tell them to do some activity. If it is a pre-recorded session, you need to give a road map in the beginning itself, what they need to do. It should be very short length. In fact, 3 to 5 minutes is what is suggested, but it can go up to 15 minutes depending upon the content, what you want to do. And in the end, there should be reflective questions, which is very, very important. One more very important thing is speak to the students, not to the camera. Don't be cautious that you are speaking to the camera and what will happen, how you're doing. Just as you deliver your session in your class, looking at your student, speak to your students. There should be an inductive process, and these two not necessary has to be separate. These two can go hand in hand. In fact, you can give some pre-recorded lectures in the beginning and have a discussion over it in the live lectures, which I'm going to discuss in the next point. Now, some pointers for online lectures. When you are giving online lectures, at that time, please practice using screen share, which we are doing. Be at your normal pace. Don't be very fast or don't be very slow. Be visible. Show your face, because that is very important. Student finds a very good bonding between the teacher when the teacher actually is present to them and showing the face, seeing the face of the teacher. So it is very, very important. Engaging students in the form of chat or raise hands. Encourage students to reflect what they think about this post question answer session, and also closing or the summary slide, which is very important. Now, assessment of online lectures. You can also do assessment through recording of their comments, through chats. Inform them before how you are going to grade them. This is very, very important. And provide them a rubric. Now, what is a rubric? You have to look for it, what it is. Now, because I have a really short time, but still I would discuss about this in the next few slides. But provide them a rubric of how you are going to assess them, the ways how you are going to assess them, the criteria on which they have to be assessed. Now, this is the what is very, very challenging, the hands-on courses or the laboratory work. Now, hands-on courses, in fact, for computer engineering students or others, wherein you can have virtual sessions is easy. But what about the mechanical engineer or biologist, or you can also have mathematics, right? Wherein you have to do some things and you have to see. So when these are there, we should have a definite route, right? So define what the lab should achieve. Video demonstration of techniques is also very helpful. And when you are doing the video, you know what are the students, where the students would lag. So you can concentrate on it. You can define it as per your students' interest. So kindly make your own video if possible. Online simulation. There are many online simulation. Here also I have put one dissection simulator frog edition. So you can also find online simulation. If this is not possible, you can also have analysis of data. In fact, you can give some raw data to the students and tell them to analyze, tell them to find out, tell them to conclude, because this is what our students lack mostly. Pre and post lab work. So whatever pre-lab work or post-lab work the students have to do, you can give them now. Virtual labs and dissection, which or sometimes like night sky observation. You can also suggest some YouTube videos, and as I have told you, analysis of the data, you can provide some raw data for analysis. Now, what care should be taken while teaching online? So during the class and outside the class. During the class, encourage community. So you can see their faces. So once a while, you can have their faces and you can talk to them. but there should be a proper system when you are discussing with them. So you can decide your own system. You can stretch time in between. That is, stretch time in between means either you can have some warm up things or some cool down things, or you can also have some uh, brainstorming things planned. You can take, actually here there is a mistake, it should be polls, it has become pool. Okay, there should be chats, group discussion or formations, uh, even writing. You can ask them to write something and take their inputs through writing. Outside the class, you have to build in a space for reflection wherein they can think about it. You can have debate in discussion. You can provide specific conversation points or prompts and focus on the key parts, which is very, very important. Providing them specific prompts is also a key, which you need to do it. Okay, now here is what is the flipped classroom thing, what I really wanted to discuss. Now, when you are thinking about flipped classroom, there are various notions about it. Now, the most popular notion is about flipped classroom is that you make a plan, you create a video, mostly multimedia content. You can have your presentation also, but it will be really nice if you can have your own simple video, 3 to 4 hours time for you to spend on it, so that, and it will be just a 5 minute video, not a very big video, 5 to 10 minutes video depending upon your topic. And then you can gather learning data, write assessment to collect diagnostic information. Now you release the content to the students. Now, once you have created your video and you have designed what kind of information you want to collect, and you have released the data or your video to the students, the most important part is here, wherein you have to engage in active learning. Here is where your students will be sitting with you. They will be discussing their points. They will be finding out ways. So you have to design the in-class activities for deeper understanding. You can have some thought-provoking questions. In fact, always open-ended question works very well here when you are thinking about this. You can have different ways of engagement. I think in this entire course, you will be also planning your course. So there, these different ways of active learning are also going to be discussed. So you can find information in more detail in that time. So use the data to inform the plan. And after finishing this, just reflect. Reflect how the process went through. If you think that it went very well, what kind of improvements you need to do, what kind of challenges that came, because flipped classroom, trust me, we have been trying in our induction program, and our participants are going and trying in their classroom. It's not that easy to do it, because some of our participants, they have given us a feedback that it's quite challenging for them to do it initially, but slowly you can bring up the pace, right? Now, I really want to take you to an assessment slide, and I really want to go to this assessment slide of Queen's University of Canada. Please take this link also. I would want all of you to write down or copy this link. I don't know how you can copy, but please write down this link so that you can read more about assessment. But let's go to this. Yeah. So making assessment criteria clear to the students. Now in this activity, this is like a student is an assessor. You all are assessors, and you have to evaluate the dress of this model. Now, what kind of dress the model is wearing, that is not what you have to do. You have to just rate this dress. Okay, ready? Step 1. Consider the dress our model is wearing and rate it. Come on, do it. I think you're done. Oh, you're not done because I have not given any poll. or I have not given any way to do it, right? But you are thinking out. So how much points? Maybe some of you might be thinking, out of 10, I'll give 6. Out of 10, I'll give 5. Out of 10, I'll give 16. Yes? Yes? Okay. Now let's go to the next. Consider the dress our model is wearing and rate it in terms of suitability and color. Do you want to change your answer? So suitability and color. Think about your answer. Please note down on your book. Okay, you have given some answer. Now let me go to that step 3. Consider the dress our model is wearing and rate it in terms of its suitability and color with our model's skin and frame, its suitability and color for a fall season fashion show, its suitability and color for teaching in a university classroom within 1 to 4. Now, if I tell you to rate this and give a feedback on it, sorry, I'm not able to do this online, but I hope you are getting the point. What I really want to put here for is the step 1, step 2 doesn't show the criteria. It just tell you to rate it. But on what basis, on what criteria I have to rate and how I have to rate is not being discussed. So a rubric is, this is what is a rubric, wherein you give the criteria, you tell the student how to rate. If we can include this rubric, it will be really helpful in our teaching learning process. Okay, so let me go back, and for assessment there are many more things what you can go to this online platform and see. So I'll go for the next last point. So what did you learn from this session? Thank you so much for this, for your kind hearing and also getting involved in my session. But overall, if you really want to think about this session and you really want to find out some words, so 2 to 3 words, what do you think? So can you just see on screen? Yeah, so if you can go to www.menti.com, and there you can use this code 66512 92 665192. Please put this code on menti.com and write down whatever you felt about this session, what you felt, your feelings or whatever things you learned from this, and what are your comments for this session. Please type. You can go through your smartphone also. Kindly don't scribble here. Okay, please go to menti.com. Please go to menti.com and there you write down. So I am getting one word about the session. Okay, informative, interactive. Any other things you are thinking? Okay, some of you are saying interactive, informative. Okay. Any pointers from the session? Anything, any word you remember? Any word you remember from this session? Okay, I'm getting words like interesting, feedback, magnificent. Okay, very interactive, informative. Okay, okay. Thank you so much for giving your inputs. I also wanted to give an example of using an online platform to get feedbacks from your students. So you can also get feedbacks. Now here, if you just see informative, excellent, interactive. These are the three words which are highlighted. So this tells about your session, what happened in your session, and how what inputs they have got, the participants have got in your session. It can go on and on and on. And yeah, this menti.com or Mentimeter is what is the platform. There are other ways also, I think, so that they are going to be discussed here in this session, in future sessions too. So thank you for this. And in the last, I just want to tell you that learning knows no bounds. Let's make our teaching worth learning. And if you remember, I had the when the first slide was there, at that time there was a picture of this small plant. You might be thinking, why this small plant is here in an effective pedagogy slide. I really want you to think about it. So I just want you to think that this plant, if you see, is growing out of the cracks. There is hardly any soil. There is hardly any water that is given to this plant. Still it is growing. Still it is growing in this challenging situation. As a human, why can't we grow? So let's take this pledge. Let's grow together and ask this question to ourselves. Today, what different, what unique I did in my teaching learning that will make my teaching effective, that will make my students' learning effective. Thank you so much. I can take questions if there are any.
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. Participants are requested to type question in the chat, and ma'am will see the questions and answer one by one.
Okay, ma'am, one question which I have noticed here is that is online teaching enforcing zombie syndrome? If yes, then how do we get rid of it?
Sorry, I didn't get your.
The question is online teaching enforcing a zombie syndrome? It would mean that students are just following each other's and just going through the course but not understanding much from it, like zombies we see in Hollywood movies. And if so, then how to get rid of it?
Actually, it's a very good question. Thank you so much for asking this. And I feel it all depends upon how you are planning your session. It will not, because see, this is a need of our, right now we are thinking about going online, but if you see progressive countries, or if you see developed countries, they have already discussed about this thing, and they have found ways to do this type of teaching learning process, right? So this, I don't think so it will go for zombie syndrome as such, but yes, it depends upon your teaching style, it depends upon teaching method, and most important is, it depends upon what intention you have when you really want to pose this. What you want your students to do. If you want your students only to see this, then that will definitely go into that syndrome. But if you really want your student to be active, not only to listen to this, also to think about something, to answer something, so this will make them really active, and they will not be only zombies, they will definitely be active participants in your class.
Ma'am, another question which I have noticed having good merit is by Dr. L. Siva Ramakrishna. He's asking, in future, do you expect online teaching will be slowly replacing offline teaching?
This question, like many times we have also asked, and we have also thought about it. But trust me, I am a staunch supporter of live teaching, teaching in classroom, teaching when you are in front of the students. And I don't think so online teaching would replace completely the classroom teaching situation, the physical classroom teaching situation, but it will be a complementary. So we have to have a complementary thing. It has to be together. But I don't think so. It will replace completely, because the human interaction, the human touch. Learning is not only through the auditory or through visual senses. Learning it through all other senses, right? So if we really want our student to learn through all the senses, we have to give them opportunity to explore these senses. And as a teacher, we really want to do this, right? In my beginning discussion or 5-minute introduction also, I said, please get passion, hunger, and determination. Passion for your teaching, hunger for learning, right? So if we have that, definitely this will not, our as a teacher, our role is very, very prominent, and it is going to stay. It is not going to go away.
Ma'am, one question is especially for your domain, that is pedagogy, and that is how to assess our students in online sessions effectively.
Yes. So when online sessions are there, how to assess the student is a very big challenging things. I have discussed few points there, like you can take in their comments when you are discussing, and their comments can also be assessed. However, you have to tell why you are doing that assessment and how you're going to do the assessment. So when assessment has a very important structure, in the sense, when you design your lesson, at that time you decide your objectives, why you want to teach this unit. Based on that, your assessment plan should be ready. When online assessments are there, there is a very good chance of plagiarism. There is a very good chance of copying. In fact, it is there when it is not online also, and you all as a teacher would agree to it, right? There are students who just copy paste and give it back. But when these situations are there, can we ask questions in different manner, so that it can be, they cannot find answers in Google easily. So questions which are close to them, questions which are contextual to their surroundings. If we can ask some questions which are contextual to their surrounding, I'm definitely sure they will find out the ways to answer them, and you can test their understanding in this way. And there are other means, I think so. There is a full-fledged session on online assessment which is going to be there in future too. More you will come to know in this situation. But please focus on the purpose, what you want to assess and how you want to assess. This is very, very important.
Thank you very much, ma'am. We won't be taking further questions, but we assure the participants that we will be posting those answers to those questions on the Moodle course which they are supposed to join.
Yes, I can also share my email address if you want, and they can write to me if they have any questions in future too. I would be really happy to interact with all of you. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, Satya Prakash sir, Ranjan sir, and also all the Vivekanand